Moving with a sense of trust. This is actually take 2 of this. I trusted that the camera was on, and it was not. I think my phone died immediately because of the cold. Trees are throwing snowballs at me. So moving with a sense of trust. It's something I've been exploring in my movement practice. It comes from my martial arts background. It comes from Tai Chi Chuan. And we have a focus on the abdomen, on the dantian, actually a spot below the navel. But it ends up being a lot of breath and the abdomen breathing and bringing conscious awareness to your center. And I've translated that into many ways I move right now. But I'm climbing on this fun little jungle gym thing behind me, or just walking. If I find myself at this in my center versus in my mind, which I gotta admit, my hands got a little cold on this thing, and I found myself in my head a few times. But if I do that, if I find myself in my center here, I find that I move more confidently. So by trust, I mean moving with confidence that my body is going to know what to do, that I don't necessarily have to measure out every single step. So I can walk around really carefully with my shoulders up and and you could tell if I'm moving like this, I'm in my head and I'm measuring out each step. But I also can move by relaxing my shoulders, finding myself in my center and walking around, and actually it's a bit more like moving like a ninja or quite stealthy, and you're moving a lot more confidently if you're moving from there. So of course, like walking in an environment like here where it's unlevel, there's a foot of snow, and it's gonna a lot of times take some mind work. But on a more maybe trustworthy ground, a flat surface, experiment with this. Find yourself in a walk when you're walking, just breathing into your center. Expand your abdomen on the inhale. Retract it. Help your lungs exhale air by pushing up your diaphragm on the exhalation. Expand on inhalation. Soften on the exhalation. If you are doing some conscious walking like that, you may find that you're moving more confidently versus and also that would give you the chance to maybe look off trail. So as we're walking down the trail, a lot of times it's okay, where can I step, and a lot of times we may have to do that because of other reasons, maybe we have an injury or something like that. But if you're feeling in a stable state, it's a good time to take a look off the trail. That's when you're going to see the deer in the distance, or notice a new type of mushroom. And walking with that sense of trust from being in your center, it just opens up some opportunities. So whenever I'm playing push hands, which is a game that we do in Tai Chi where we're just trying to push each other off balance, or if we're doing with a circle around us and we're trying to push each other outside the circle, I find that if I'm working from here versus measuring with my head, if I'm moving with a sense of trust because I'm centered, then I'm more likely to let somebody go by me and yield, or I'm more likely to find success in pushing someone out because I didn't plan that out. So if I plan something out, I'm telegraphing it, and the other person may be able to measure my telegraph. They may be able to see it. They may be able to sense it. If they're working from a place of trust, they're likely to be able to sense that. Other animals, I don't believe that other animals walk around thinking about their every step. imagining like a deer. It's just moving through the woods. It's got its eyes on where's the next place that it can chew on. It's always chewing off the top of these plants around here, these small trees and hazel and things like that. And it's not necessarily consciously choosing where it's going to step. It just moves with a sense of confidence. So I think humans are perfectly capable of doing the same thing. Reflecting on like a flight or fight situation, if you're fleeing some sense of danger, then it's not likely, if you're like in a true flight or flight mindset, then you're in the zone and you're booking it, you're just going. You're not really planning what's going to happen next. The moment you plan is the moment you might actually trip. So you're just moving with what feels right. And if you're fighting, then you may end up, and a fight may even be simply, lifting up a car, like a flight or fight situation. If you have those moments of strength where you're able to, the stories of people lifting up a car and saving someone's life, or even just groups of people doing that. That's not something you can really plan, because if you think about lifting up a weight, you're like, okay, this is 50 pounds. You're like, ugh, it does. Surely it's a lot harder than if you were in a moment where you absolutely had to lift up those 50 pounds. And that's, again, coming from a place of trust, a place of that trust that your body can perform. So my challenge to you is to think about finding yourself in your center more often. See if you can use your breath as an anchor to find yourself in your center. So again, inhaling and expanding the abdomen, exhaling, retracting, sinking in, expanding, exhaling, retracting. And just doing that alone in a standing posture, you're going to find yourself here. But if you do that while you're moving, you're going to find probably more confidence. But if you're doing something more active like this, if you train those methods prior to being more active, then hopefully that just kind of comes out innately. Yeah, so share in the comments maybe some ways that I could say this better if you're familiar with this, moving from a sense of trust. Because I don't feel like I can really verbalize this all that well. It's a feeling-based thing. It's pretty well, you can feel when you're in your head. And you can actually, your shoulders are tense. All your energy seems to be being consumed right here. And you can feel whenever you have a good base and you're solid, and whenever you feel stable. And that you're coming from a place of working in the center. Maybe even doing like some static exercises, like imagine a plank. You're all up in your arms, and it's supposed to be a core workout. Of course it works out other parts, but versus maybe bringing your attention into the center and allowing your center to stabilize you. I'm curious in some ways that you guys will experiment with this, and I'm looking forward to some ways that I can develop it more so myself. Because like I said, even playing on this thing right now, I found myself in my head, and I like to find myself in my center more often. There's kind of maybe 3 points that I can find myself in, and maybe you feel similarly. I can find myself in my head, and that's relatable. Anxious thoughts, depressive thoughts, or even like some super ecstatic thoughts. I can find myself in my chest, and I can feel sorrow, or I can feel, contentment. And I can find myself here in my abdomen, which is really doesn't seem to be associated with much more than just a physical sense of just being, for me at least. It's good to be in all of these places. There's advantages of being working your way through all of those, but I'm curious. I'm curious if this isn't the right way of going about it, because I'm by no means an expert in movement. I'm just a guy here in the woods trying to figure these things out. So I hope that you guys have some input on this, and yeah, we will talk soon. There's one more thing I wanted to add to the video, and that's that if you're moving from a place of trust physically, that a beautiful thing about that is that it translates to your mind and how you do things mentally, emotionally. It's the whole mind-body connection thing. You know, if you do something in your mind, then it's likely to be found in your body. So if you're feeling tense, you know, tension rises in your body. You can see someone's shoulders rise, or, you know, fists clench. But if we can train our bodies to work from a place of trust physically, then we can probably find ourselves working from a mental state that's more trusting. So we can trust that the future will be bright, or that the event that we have coming up will go well, or you know, it makes it easier to sometimes overcome those anxious or depressive thoughts. And I just wanted to make sure I added that bit in there, that if we cultivate this physically, that it's not just going to reside there only, that it's pervasive and finds itself working in other ways in our life, and specifically here in our mental, emotional states. We can trust that the future will bring us good.